Welcome to Wellness Tools Reconsidered, a conversation series exploring how proven wellness tools can become even more effective when paired with insight that reduces effort. In this episode, we're looking at cognitive behavioral and acceptance approaches, widely trusted approaches that help people regulate emotions, manage stress, and navigate real life more skillfully. These tools work. They've earned their place. What we're exploring here is a simple but often overlooked question. What changes when we understand where struggle originates and how that understanding can make using these tools feel lighter? This isn't a how-to or a set of techniques. It's a reflective conversation about effort, insight, and why the work people are already doing can begin to feel less burdensome without changing the tools themselves.
Okay, so let's talk about your mental toolkit. You probably have one.
Everyone does these days.
Right. You've got the apps, maybe read some bestsellers. You might have even done the therapy. You have a strategy for stress, for anxiety, for pretty much everything.
And here's the thing, technically, they work. You're functioning better.
But, and be honest with yourself here, does using those tools sometimes feel like a full-time job?
It's that specific kind of exhaustion, isn't it? That high-functioning exhaustion.
Exactly.
And that's really the gap we want to get into today. We're looking at these gold standard psychological tools, CBT, ACT, DBT, and comparing them with some insights from a book called The Lens That Changes Everything.
The goal here is to figure out why coping effectively can still feel so heavy.
Yeah, why it still feels like work.
But before we get to that, I want to push back a little. Because we are not saying throw out your therapy, are we?
Oh, not at all. Absolutely not.
I mean, I rely on these tools.
Of course. And these methods are the gold standard for a good reason. They aren't just, internet hacks. They're clinically trusted structures that keep people safe.
Okay, so let's start with the big one. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
The bedrock, really?
I always think of that one as the logic filter for my brain.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Think of CBT as a kind of courtroom for your thoughts.
A courtroom, okay.
So when you have a distorted thought like everyone hates me or I'm definitely going to fail this, CBT asks for the evidence.
It makes you be a lawyer for your own thoughts.
It does. It untangles that narrative so you don't just spiral. It stops the car from driving off the cliff by making you use your rational mind.
Okay, so then you have the more acceptance-based approaches, ACT and DBT. How do those fit in?
Well, if CBT is the judge in the courtroom, ACT and DBT are maybe more like an anchor in a storm.
An anchor? I like that.
They're not trying to argue with the thought. They use mindfulness to just stabilize your attention. They teach you to relate to your emotions safely instead of, running from them.
And DBT is the one I've heard described as like a manual for people who feel everything in volume 10. Is that fair?
That is very fair. It gives you really specific skills for distress tolerance, for getting along with people effectively. It's incredibly practical.
So it helps you ride the wave instead of getting crushed by it.
Exactly. It helps you navigate that crisis without capsizing the boat. So all these tools are fantastic at managing things in real time.
Which brings us to the friction point, the big but. If these tools are so good, why do we have this effort problem? Why does the person doing all this work still feel so tired?
I think it's because of where those tools operate. They are all what we'd call downstream.
Downstream?
Meaning they manage the reaction after it's already started, and this creates what the source material we're looking at calls the self-help loop.
I think I know that loop. It's that feeling of constant vigilance, right? You're always scanning yourself for a bad thought so you can jump on it with a tool.
Yes. And what happens when a familiar pattern comes back anyway? A wave of self-criticism or just overwhelm. What's your first reaction?
Usually, I must be doing it wrong or just I need to try harder.
Exactly. You double down on the effort. You blame yourself for the struggle.
So on the outside, you're fine. You're meeting deadlines, not snapping at your partner.
Yeah.
But inside,
you are white-knuckling the steering wheel. It's endless management. It's not peace.
That's the distinction. Functioning versus peace.
Yeah.
So how does this book, The Lens That Changes Everything, get at this? Is it just a better tool?
No, it's not another tool. It's more of a pivot. It suggests moving upstream.
Okay, so if downstream is fixing the reaction.
Upstream is looking at the beliefs and meanings that formed the reaction in the first place. The book uses this car alignment analogy that makes it super clear.
Walk us through it.
Okay, so imagine you're driving a car and the alignment is bad. It pulls hard to the left.
Right, I'm mine.
Using your downstream tools, your CBT, your DBT is like gripping the wheel and constantly yanking it to the right just to keep the car going straight.
Which works. The car stays on the road.
It works perfectly. You're safe. But the second you relax your grip,
It pulls left again. So you can never actually rest.
you can't. Now, upstream work is fixing the alignment itself. It's understanding why the car pulls left in the first place. Some deep belief or meaning you picked up. When you see that origin point, the pull just stops.
And suddenly you don't have to grip the wheel so hard. You still need your driving skills.
You still need the tools, of course.
But the constant struggle is just gone.
That is the shift. It changes regulation from this feeling of control to a feeling of understanding. You're not fighting yourself anymore. You're just driving.
And for anyone listening who wants to see what upstream might look like for them, the lens that changes everything is actually available for free.
Yeah, through the Creative Humanity Alliance. We'll link it.
It's a dense read, but maybe worth it for that alignment check.
And just remember the key thing. Insight doesn't replace your toolbox. It just makes it so that using your tools doesn't have to be a full-time job.
Something to think about. Thanks for this deep dive.
As we close, it's worth saying clearly, insight doesn't replace tools. What it changes is the relationship to them. When struggle is understood not as a personal failure, but as something that formed for understandable reasons, effort often softens. The tools you already trust begin to feel more supportive and less corrective. If you already use these practices, there's nothing new you need to adopt. This conversation is simply an invitation to see the work differently and to notice what changes when recognition replaces constant management.